Hello, I'm Ollie, and this is Criminally, where I talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today, complex literary fiction, pulpy war novels, and a little bit of manga. It's my weekly wrap-up. Okay, before I start, check out my new t-shirt. So this arrived in the post this week. From my pal Eric, Mr. Fright from Midnight Magazine. So this is the official Midnight Magazine t-shirt, which I think is absolutely fantastic. I also got with it a few issues of physical issues of Midnight Magazine, so a few that I haven't got yet. There's Midnight Tales there as well, so really looking forward to diving into these soon. That one's got a slightly saucy cover, apologies. So yeah, Midnight Magazine, if you've not checked it out, is a really fun horror magazine. Definitely worth your time. Right, so let's talk about books. Let's talk about what I've been reading this week. So it's felt like a more relaxed reading week. So I've read, I think, a little bit less, partly because I've been playing Cyberpunk 2077, which my son keeps on insisting that I play, and I'm actually really enjoying it. So I've been playing a bit of Cyberpunk this week. And also because Threads, the new Twitter rival from Meta, launched, and I've been quite enjoying playing around with Threads as well. So yes, a slightly less read, and I'm deliberately, and I said this in my July TBR video, I'm deliberately trying to not put so much pressure on myself to read stuff for the channel and trying to just read for pleasure a little bit more. That said, I finished 4 books this week and 3 volumes of manga as well. So I will talk about those in this video, and then I'll just tell you what's been on the channel and what's coming on the channel in the week ahead. So let me tell you what I've read then. So the first 2 things, and this is the complex literary fiction I referred to in the intro. I read The Passenger and Stella Maris by Cormac McCarthy. So these were a buddy read with one of my patrons, MJ. So I do a patron buddy read every month. And MJ picked these 2. So I think my feeling about these is the same as my feeling about most of the Cormac McCarthy books I've read, which is I quite like them, but I don't understand what was going on. So I don't know what Cormac McCarthy's message was in these books. They are definitely books about loss, about death, and about grieving and about loss, and they are really interesting and definitely 100% I would say you need to read both of them. So when I looked on Goodreads, The Passenger, which was the kind of bigger ticket one if you like, had twice as many ratings as Stella Maris. I really think you need to read both of them to appreciate the story, or not the story, even the message. Not that I got the message, but you know what I mean. So they're about a brother and sister. The Passenger focuses more on the brother. Stella Maris focuses more on the sister. So the brother is kind of a bit of an action man, really. So he's like a salvage diver and used to be a race car driver and stuff like that. His sister has committed suicide, and it's about him. It's kind of about him coming to terms with that, but also about a load of other stuff as well that I won't pretend to understand. But it was interesting. As always with Cormac McCarthy, there's an absence of punctuation, but that wasn't. I didn't find that problematic at all. And a lot of the dialogue in these books is just really good. It really flows naturally and works well. So I enjoyed that side of it. Stella Maris is a conversation. So the whole book is a conversation between the sister and her psychiatrist. And in Stella Maris, it's the brother who's died rather than the sister, which was interesting. So it's a conversation between the sister and her psychiatrist or counsellor or whatever. And so it's purely dialogue. And I actually preferred Stella Maris to The Passenger overall. But I thought they were both interesting. But in common with most of my experiences with Cormac McCarthy, I don't really get what was going on. But I don't think you need to understand a book to enjoy it and appreciate it. And Brian from Bookish made a good video about that this week actually, which I'll try and remember to link to. Okay, so those were kind of the big, serious, heavy books I read this week. I also read Powder Monkey by Adam Hardy, which is the first of the Fox books. So I read this for BookTube at War. So I don't have a physical copy of that one that I read, but I do have a physical copy of book 6, I think it is, in the series. Oh no, it's book 9. So that's what I kind of look like. So these are pulpy war novels from the 70s, I think, 70s and 80s. 74, so from the 70s, about this guy Fox, who's so in the first book he starts as a young kid, and it's about him. Well, actually, it starts before he's born. It's about his birth and about him growing up in a deprived area, and ultimately joining the Navy as like a ship's boy. And getting involved in various battles and things like that. So I thought they were Napoleonic, but they're not. The first one certainly is actually set during the War of Independence. I don't know what we call the War of Independence in the UK, but that war when America decided it didn't want to be ruled by Great Britain anymore. And ironically, I read this book on the 4th, 5th and 6th, I think, of July, or the 3rd, 4th and 5th of July. Oh, not this one, the first one. So I was reading it over Independence Day. I enjoyed it. So I mean, it's not great literature by any means, but it was enjoyable. It was quite brutal at times. It was definitely colourful, and it felt reasonably realistic, albeit very lurid, but reasonably realistic about what the life of a ship's boy might have been like during that period. It was very episodic, I would say, and that's also true for the other war book I read this week. But I did enjoy it. So clearly both of these I've read for BookTube at War, the reading event organised by Michael K. Vaughan and inspired by viewer DDB, which is taking place this month, which focuses on reading books on the subject of war, either fiction or non-fiction. So the other thing I read then was Legion of the Damned by Sven Hassel, which is I think a 50s novel, but based on Sven Hassel's real experiences during the Second World War. So he was, and I've now forgotten where he was from. I think he was Norwegian. But ended up fighting in the German army. So it's just about those experiences. And it definitely felt more like a memoir than a novel, in that, similar with the Fox book, it was very, very episodic. But I did enjoy it. There's certainly some memorable scenes. He fights in a tank crew, so there's some interesting tank battles. He's imprisoned by the Soviets for a period of time, so that was quite interesting as well. So there's a lot of different stuff going on. Sven Hassel ended up writing a load of sequels, which I suspect stray further and further from the truth of his own experiences. But yeah, and another interesting read. So I've started my BookTube at War journey with some kind of trashier stuff, I guess, but did enjoy both of them. In terms of what I'm reading now, so I've just started Elder Race by Adrian Tchaikovsky. So every month I do a book. I run a Patreon book club where I read a book with my patrons, and my patrons vote on the book we're going to read. So this month, Elder Race by Adrian Tchaikovsky won, which seems to me, I don't really know anything about it, and I've not read anything by Tchaikovsky before, but seems to be a kind of science fantasy kind of a book. I've read the first chapter and I'm enjoying it so far. If you fancy taking part in that read along, the link for my Patreon is in the description for the video. In terms of manga then, so I also read volume 6 of Blood on the Tracks by Shuzo Oshimi, which was fantastic. I continue to be really blown away by this series. Incredibly disturbing and frank, but excellent. And then on a lighter note, also read volumes 6 of Chainsaw Man, which was just fantastic, just fantastically bonkers and over the top. So involving the chainsaw man of the title riding around on a shark demon fighting this giant monster. That was pretty much the whole volume, but really good fun. And then also read volume 6 of Spy Family, which is a very silly but entertaining kind of comedy espionage type thing, which I'm really enjoying. So I enjoyed both of those a lot. You'll notice I'm talking about manga in this video, which I don't normally do. So Manga Mondays, which I was doing, so I was doing a manga video every Monday. I've decided to stop doing that, and I will briefly touch on manga in these weekly videos going forward instead. Ironically, that final Manga Monday video, which I called The Death of Manga Monday, got about twice as many views as any previous Manga Monday video, so people obviously appreciate it not being there anymore. In terms of other channel stuff then, so I've talked about that Manga Monday video. I've also did a couple of Stephen King videos this week. So I did a review of Billy Summers, which I really enjoyed, and then I'm starting a Stephen King project where I'm going to read all the Stephen King books that I haven't read yet, of which I think there are about a dozen. So not that many, but I'm going to work through those over the coming months. I also did the mid-year book freakout tag, which is always a fun one to do at this time of the year. And did a video which I really enjoyed, but which ended up being almost an hour long, which is ridiculous, where I went through my Goodreads to see if I'd read a book I really loved for every year that I've been alive. So I published it in every year I've been alive. So that was quite fun to do. So that's the week just gone. In the week ahead, I'm going to try and do a Garb August tag video. I still haven't quite got a set of questions I'm really happy with, but I'm going to try and get that sorted today and film that ready for Tuesday. I've got a special surprise video which I'm not going to say what it's about at all, but it's something I'm quite I'm quite proud of. So it's something I'm quite proud of. So you'll see that coming up soon. I'll be doing a Q&A video to celebrate getting to 25,000 subscribers. So I put out a community post last weekend, and I've had loads of questions, so I'm going to work through those in the video, and that will go up tomorrow on Sunday, and I'm going to do a June wrap-up video as well, and then you'll get a couple of other things during the week too. Not quite sure what yet. So I hope you found that interesting. Let me know what you've been reading this week. Let me know if you've read any of the things I talked about, and as always, thanks very much for watching. Hope you're safe and well out there. Hope you're reading good stuff, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Cheerio.